Aloha, everybody. Thank you for coming. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll get started. So I am really excited to announce our speaker. Sue Rumack is a powerful empath teacher, a spirit connector, and an earthbound soul guardian. She is a teacher, healer, author, and believer in life beyond here that connects us in the here and now. A professional life coach, she teaches highly sensitive and manage energetic overwhelm from all worlds. Sue, the empath life coach, specializes in overwhelm and stress management for highly sensitive people. She teaches what she lives, an author of several spirit Kindle books. Her writing opens the door to deeper awareness. Sue is an earthbound guardian representing the soul guardians here on earth. She is a teacher, healer, and an author, and a believer in life beyond here that connects us in the now. She is also a great friend of mine. That one thing that I have learned, there's a few things I've started to learn, but one thing that I have learned from my NDE is to just start listening and not questioning. And so when I first met Sue, it was just listening. And many of you are also empaths, but and you know, and have deal with the same struggles that I do. And she's just absolutely brilliant at practical, useful tools. And she's experienced it all. So that's the other thing that's really cool, is that what all of us have experienced, she's been experiencing from an early age. She didn't have a classic NDE, but she's had all of everything else and very NDE-like. So I'm really honored that she's going to speak with us tonight. And she's been sharing lots of amazing tips with me. So I'm excited to share them all with you. So Susan, would you like to say hello?
Say hello. Hi, everybody. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be here. When Shaun asked me to come and speak to the NDE group, I went, okay. And what would you like me to talk about? And he says, I don't know, just bring what you bring and let's see what happens. So I went to my guides and I said, so guides, they're called the soul guardians. There are a total of 8 of us. I'm one of them, but I'm an earthbound soul guardian, meaning that I chose to be here in order to basically spread their message. And I didn't know that until I was into my 50s. So here we are 20 odd years later and still going strong. So when I asked my guides, what am I going to talk to NDEers about? And they always give me the titles, they give me the words to say, and this is what they said. They said, tell them about connecting between worlds through the now dimension. I went, okay, that's a lot of words, but what does that actually mean? And they said, well, you know how it is. You've experienced it. You've been doing this since you were 8 years old. You've been connecting between your world, meaning my world, and their world, their dimension, in a very active way. And I said, yeah, but that's normal for me. And they said, it's actually normal for everybody else too, because most people don't realize that they're connecting. They just think the thoughts that they have, they're unusual, exhilarating, unique, not things you would normally think about coming from God knows where. Sometimes those are your own personal guides, and we all have them. They aren't always very vocal, but we all have them, bringing you a message. So I said, so what am I supposed to tell these lovely people about connecting between the worlds through the now dimension? And they said, well, people don't know what the now dimension is. I went, oh, didn't think about that. So when people say you have to live in the moment, you know, Shaun, you know what I'm talking about, right? Living in the moment. Well, but people say it's so hard to live in the moment. What is that? I can't stay in the moment. And that's what the guides wanted people to understand a little bit better. So about half an hour, 40 minutes before I actually got on this call with Shaun, because we talked earlier than you guys come on the call, I said to my guides, I don't think you've really explained that well enough for me to explain it to them. Can you give me a little bit better explanation? So with Shaun's permission, do I have your permission, Shaun?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to read what they gave me. So listen carefully, open your ears, open your bodies, open your minds, and take it in one little bit at a time. The now dimension is an energetic flow between people, situations, and other dimensions generated by thought and actions. Simple enough so far, Shaun? Yeah, okay. It's moving, influencing, attracting, and repelling in present time. Well, thought generation from other people, thought generations that I send out. Moving, influencing, attracting, and repelling in present time, in this very moment. So taking it one step further, I said, okay, that's all well and good, but what are we actually telling people? And they said, taking it one step further, when you think about something in the past, you create a portal from now backwards into the past that instantly revives old memories, bringing back to life this thing that happened in your present. So you brought something from the past forward into the present, and now it's in the moment again. It's not in the past any longer. It's in the present. Every moment before this moment every moment before this moment is no longer now. Every future thought becomes now. So as soon as you've thought of something and moved on to the next thing, that's now in the past. It's no longer really present. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anything you want to connecting in the now between worlds?
Louise, do you want to say something? You raised your hand. Unmute.
Could you just say everything that the paragraph that you introduced it with? Could you say that again? I'm sorry if this is a bad question.
Sure. No, it's not a bad question at all. I'll repeat the whole thing without any pauses, so it all flows. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
The now dimension is an energetic flow between people, situations, and other dimensions generated by thoughts and actions. It's moving, influencing, attracting, and repelling in present time, in this very moment. Taking it one step further, when you think about something in the past, you're actually creating a portal from now backwards into the past, backwards in time, that instantly revives an old memory, bringing it forward, bringing it back to life in your present. Every moment before this moment is no longer now. It's now past. Every future thought, in other words, as you think about the future, it now becomes now. So I'm thinking about something I want to do. I want to make dinner tomorrow night. I'm actually making dinner in my mind at that moment, but it's tomorrow night's dinner. So I brought the future into my present. Make sense?
Yeah, we have students of the Course in Miracles here, and so I think most people understand.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So let's just move on then. Before I began to think about what we were going to talk about, I'd already thought about it a lot, made some notes. And on Sunday afternoon, I went for a walk, which I always do. It's a moment for me to connect with my guides and say, so what are we really doing here? I mean, I've done all this work already, but what am I really doing here? And they gave me 3 messages for everybody that's on this call and everybody that's going to listen to it or watch it on YouTube. The messages went like this. It was like real quick, at the top of a hill, sunlight streaming through the trees, wind in my hair, that kind of thing. They said, 3 people here tonight will discover something they never knew before that will make a difference in their lives. So 3 people are going to discover something they never knew about before, and it will make a difference in their future lives. 3 more people will make a decision tonight that will change a direction in their lives. 3 people will have a direction changing decision that comes out of tonight's call. And this one's all about me. 3 people will call me to ask about their lives. So that's what my guide said is going to come out of this tonight. Everybody else is going to get something, but 3 people, 3 special people will discover something new that'll change their lives. 3 will make a decision that they didn't expect to make that's going to change an important direction in their lives. And 3 people are going to call me sometime in the future. So Shaun also asked me if I wanted to do a meditation or a blessing or anything like that for the group before we start. What do you think, Shaun? Shall we do that? Should we leave it up to the people to say yes or no? Give us a thumbs up or?
Yeah, so that's what we're leaving it up to everybody here. And the reason is because a lot of us go to a lot of spiritual meetings, and if we go to 3 or 4 in a day, we get burned out of meditations. So I've decided that I'm going to start asking. I want to see what people would like. Some people like a little meditation, 5 minutes. Some people are done. So if everybody wants to use, you can use your reaction button. Do you guys know where that is in the bottom? The bottom right, normally under reactions, you can do either a thumbs up or you can do a the green yes. So we see 3 thumbs up, 7, 8. I think, yeah, okay, everybody wants a meditation.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well,
and somebody says speed it up.
speed it up. It's going to be real quick. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. So this is actually a blessing for everybody here. That is one of the opening pieces of one of the downloaded angel message books that I've written on behalf of my guides. So I'm going to speed this up. Just close your eyes, take a moment, feel yourself into your heart. Let your body just relax. And as you do that, connect to your innermost self. May you find the answers to your questions about yourself. May your mind uncover peace and serenity within. May your life make sense to you. May your relationships be empowered. May you give permission to love yourself more. May you find the strength to forgive others. May you release that which holds you back. May you discover the empowerment of gratitude. May you discover that which makes you whole. And may you feel one with all that is. And now just feel the thank you just permeating your body. When you're ready, come back to us. Are we back?
Yes, everyone is back, ready to get these stuff.
So Shaun and I talked an awful lot about this. We spent hours talking about this, actually. So I'd like to ask, I'm pretty sure that almost everybody on this call has had an NDE, at least one. So if you wouldn't mind in the chat, just give us a thumbs up if you have had an NDE. So we have an idea of how many people here. We've got, looks like 38 participants, and just curious, I'm seeing 1 thumbs up.
There's four, or there was
okay. 4. There were 4? Okay. So even if you haven't given us a thumbs up, I'm sure there are lots of people who are watching that aren't on the Zoom with us, but on Facebook instead. You went out of body. And at some point in that, you chose to come back to your life in the very present now dimension. So why if you're in the now, do you keep getting pulled back into questioning and maybe agonizing over the why and the how and the what of what happened during your NDE? So here's the now dimension view of that. Wherever you went, whatever you experienced, and however long you stayed, was all played out in the now across more than one now. It was all happening simultaneously in more than one dimension. And because we are human, we are used to being in one dimension. And now we've had it opened up to us that we can exist and communicate and be part of more than one dimension at a time. And that shakes us to our core. It messes up our reality of where we are right now in time. So again, of course, I asked the guides, so can you give us a little bit more clarity on this? And what they gave me was that other dimensions, and I'm sure that we've all heard this in one way or another in some group or in a book or whatever, other dimensions exist parallel to intersecting ours. During your NDE, you crossed parallel intersecting dimensions. And then you came back, right? You don't necessarily remember your whole journey. You remember some parts of it. You don't remember other parts of it because our human mind is not designed to remember all of everything that happens to us out of our bodies, out of this world, out of this dimension. We couldn't handle it. Our sanity couldn't handle all of that knowing. But we can handle small bits of it that let us know, that give us hints that there is more to hear than what we see every day. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, I think, so a lot more people here have had out-of-body experiences and spiritually transformative experiences. Right. And I think it's natural for a lot of us to, at least me, I remember, like, it's like, wow, I wished I knew then what I know now, without realizing that that's all part of the journey.
Yeah.
And a lot, and I know other NDEers that have had that, where literally it's like, why did it take, all these years to see this? Yeah. And then we want to go back to the past, because I know I've done it. And I know that there's even been some movies made about it. And what's kind of funny is in all cases, and like the movies they made about it, nobody would change a thing. It's like whatever we've had to do in the past is actually what was necessary to get to whatever mystical, spiritual experience that we've had.
I can agree 100% with that. I've had my own many traumatic, life-threatening experiences. And every single one of them changed me in some way that moved me forward on this journey. Even though I didn't realize I was being moved in this direction, here I am. And I'm still here. I'm still doing whatever it is I do. So tonight, Shaun told me that you've gotten some tips from some of your speakers. It seems that people want more tips about how to manage being in connection with guides, living, having those out-of-body experiences. How do you manage them? How do you live with them afterwards? How do you make sense of them so that you don't drive yourself into this place where you feel like a crazy person? You're not a crazy person. You just had an experience that 70% of the population hasn't had. Perhaps 30% of the population has had near-death experiences, had out-of-body experiences, had spiritual transitional experiences, transformational experiences. So we thought that perhaps by telling a few of the stories in my life, and I've had way more than just the 3 that I'm going to share tonight, I'm going to also give you the tips that help me to adjust to my life in these situations. So the first one is, how do you connect with your guides? How do you negotiate a sane way of living in partnership with guides who are very present in your life or show up occasionally in your life? So the first story I'm going to tell you is about that. The second story that I'm going to tell you is when I was the first time I ever did connect with my guides, and there are tips about giving yourself permission to speak to them, to learn about them, to learn through them. And then the last one is actually an out-of-body experience that I had just before COVID hit, where my ex-husband took me out of body. He had died the previous year, and he took me out of body and showed me what the earthly dimension actually looks like when it's surrounded by all the other dimensions. And we did some really cool work on fixing the energy of the earth dimension. So where would you guys like to start? Do you want to start with how you negotiate with your guides to create a little bit of sanity? Do you want to talk about what happens when you start this from a very, very early age? Or do you want to hear about the earthly dimension and how the other dimensions all work around it?
If you can give just a little bit of background information, because most people weren't born with all this stuff like you were. So maybe just a little bit of background, like of when your first experiences started.
Sure. I come from a family of what my mother used to call us dreamers, where my mother had prophetic dreams and they would come true within a week. My own ability with that started when I was actually 14. I had my first prophetic dream when I was 14. It actually came true 7 days later, and I've had hundreds more of them since. But prior to that, my first experience with the guides was when I was 8 years old. And that would be the childhood story. Would you like to start there, Shaun?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, so if you can imagine back to 1957, I was 8 years old, and we'd been asked to do homework assignment that was supposed to span a whole month, and we were supposed to go outside every night into more than knee-deep snow, stand there as long as it took to map the stars, so we could see the progression of the constellations across the night sky over the period of 1 month, from one moon to another moon. It was a really cool exercise for an 8-year-old to do. And it was right close to the end of that month. So I'd been doing this like 29 days, 30 days, something like that. And it was February, so it was 28 days. And I remember standing out there, and I'd gotten really used to being outside in the dark, and it was cool. So I look up, and if you can imagine this, it's an inky velvet sky, and it's like an overturned bowl. It's an inverted bowl, and I'm inside of it looking up at these twinkling diamonds that are it was Milky Way, so clear, it was stunning. And I remember looking up at it and asking in my mind, feeling it with my whole body, I really wanted to know, how far does this go? Where's the fence around it? I wanted to see the fence around the whole of all of this, the stars, everything. And I'm looking up, how far does it go? Where's the fence? And a word pops into my mind, boundaryless. I'm 8 years old. I don't know what boundaryless means. I said, what's boundaryless? And the voice again comes, limitless. I said, what's limitless? I don't understand bound. And I'm getting, it's all in my head. My dad is out there with me. He doesn't have a clue. He's just looking up at the sky. And all of this, I want to see the fence. I want to see the fence. I want to see the fence. And all of a sudden I feel myself whooshed out of my body, and I'm speeding through space. Never seen a Star Trek movie in my life, never seen anything sci-fi, didn't talk about sci-fi, no idea what any of this stuff was. I am whooshing through space. This stuff is streaming past me, and all of a sudden we come up against a dead stop at the edge of a void, a black void that stretched beyond the beyond. I couldn't see a bottom. I couldn't see an end, like nothing. I went, oh, that's boundarylessness. Okay, I get that. That's limitlessness. I get that. Okay. And so they take me back home again. I'm pop back in my body. That was kind of cool. And of course, being really precocious and probably a very annoying 8-year-old, I said, so who made all this? And my family weren't churchgoers. We didn't read spiritual anything. And the words pop into my mind, the one. I go, who's the one? And it comes back again, the one who made it all. And I went, the one who made it all. Okay, I get somebody made it all. And then I go, but really, how far does it really go? At this point, the guides are getting really annoyed, like they would like with any annoying child. And what they say to me is very simple. They don't say anything. They basically make everything in my head gets all fuzzy, muzzy, and it's like zzz. It only lasted, I don't know, it might have lasted a second, maybe less. I really don't know. And then all of a sudden, everything's clear again. But what I felt when that happened was curiously calm. Like it was nothing scary. It was really normal, right? And I looked at my dad. I said, okay, Daddy, I think we're done now. We can go in. Can we watch the honeymooners? And in we go. I never mentioned to anybody that this had happened, right? And it wasn't until I was much older and I realized that every time I had one of these annoying, precocious child questions, the answer would just appear. It would just be there in my mind. And then one day I realized that zzz was my guides having opened my memory to everything that I knew beyond here. The only time I get access to those memories is when I ask. So it occurred to me, I'm not really all that smart. I'm just very connected between the worlds. So I'm connected in the now between the dimensions. And I discovered what boundarylessness meant, and I discovered what limitlessness meant, because it's all inside of me. And it isn't just inside of me, it's inside of you as well. If you ask the questions of your guides, they will open that little door for you, let you step through and see the one answer that you need. And when you've got that, you step back again and the little door closes, because you don't need anything else that's behind that door for now. You use what you've been given, you say thank you, you appreciate it, and then you're ready to move on. So when I talk to my guides, it's almost like me talking on a telephone line, okay? It's an open line for me. I ask, someone answers, and that's what I learned when I was 8 years old. Now, the tip that I would give to anybody who's listening or watching, and here are the tips, that these are the teaching messages, okay? If you're looking for those answers, try this. Maybe it'll work for you, okay? Whatever you've experienced, however many times you've experienced it, you ask yourself, is it real? Okay? Is it real? And you're going to answer a yes or a no, not a maybe. It's going to be a yes or a no. Now, how would you like to know how you know it's real? It's real if you remember that incident as if it's a 3D movie and you cannot forget a single detail of it. It's 3D, it's colorful, it's got sight, sound, smells, fragrances, textures, everything is there as if you are really there. And when you wake up, you remember every detail. Okay? That's how you know it's real. You ask yourself yes or no, and you give yourself a yes or no. If it is real, the next question you ask yourself is, why is it important for me to experience this now? Why is it important for me to have experienced this now? And you will answer from your own perspective, but I guarantee your guides are going to be giving you a little bit of direction about why it's important for you to experience this now as well, right? The next thing you're going to ask yourself is, what will I do differently because of this experience? And again, you don't know if you're really going to do those things differently, but you're opening that door to ask. And if your guides feel like giving you a little bit of a nudge, you might have some inklings as to what you might do differently. So when those situations do come up, guess what you're going to do? You're going to try on that new hat, that new experience. You're going to change an old life pattern. And then you're going to ask yourself, how do I want all of the above to change my life? Do I want anything to change my life? Or am I happy just to go along as it is, having these experiences and then just taking them at face value or doing something with them? So that's what I learned from this experience as an 8-year-old. Then if I were to go to my mom's advice, okay, my mom's advice would be slightly different. And this is what she told me when I had prophetic dreams, how to keep myself sane from because I couldn't save the lives that I saw being lost in airplane crashes and explosions and fires, right? I asked her once, why do I see these things when I can't change them? I can't save those lives. Now, what she told me, 14 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old, was I was in training for a time when I would be able to save the lives. And if I couldn't differentiate between what was a real prophetic dream and which was just, a ton of other dreams or nightmares that we all get, then how would I ever know what was something I had to take action on? And then when I was in my early 50s, I finally had the dreams that gave me all the details where I could save lives. And I did. And that's all you need to know about that right now. So here's what my mom taught me about staying sane in experiences that are so outside the norm that you don't feel like a normal person ever again afterwards. So here's what my mother told me. She said, write it down. Take a piece of paper immediately after this thing happens or immediately after you dream, whatever it is. Write down every single detail that you remember. Describe everything and note the dates, if there are dates or times or names or locations. And if there's a message, write it down as accurately as you can remember it. Now, you've got that all written out. Maybe it's this much on a page, maybe it's 10 pages. Don't know until you do it. Date it. Put it in an envelope. Seal the envelope. Do not date the outside of the envelope. Just write on the outside what the dream of blah, blah, blah. Just a title. Make a copy before you put it in the envelope and seal it. And give it to a friend, somebody you really trust, somebody that doesn't think you're a nutball. Okay, please don't take that. Please don't take that as an insult to anybody. I'm not trying to target anybody. But tell somebody you trust about your dream. Give them a written copy, date it so that you've got the date. And then when that thing does happen, if it's something, a prophetic something, then you can go back and you've got the proof that you knew this a week or two or a month or a year before it actually happened. And you've got a witness. You didn't just make it up. And that validates to you that you truly are receiving messages from someplace else. And sometimes that's all we need. Any comments on that? Any questions? Nope. Okay. All righty. Shaun, where would you like to go next? Do you want to talk about the out-of-body experience with my ex, or downloading the angelic messages and negotiating with angels or guides?
Which one came first?
So
with your husband, that was just last year. So yeah,
2 years ago, actually.
Yeah, 2 years. But the other thing was earlier. So yeah, let's talk, because I think that's really fascinating about negotiating with your guides. And like, I think that that's really cool. And I think everybody here, at least me, I mean, I learned kind of the hard way, but I think that's great. Story next.
Okay, so you want to talk about downloading those 111 angelic messages?
Yes, yes.
And totally negotiating with my guides. Okay, let's do that. So another story. Everybody needs to take a drink of water, take a breath, clear with all the first one out of your brain. So this one is fresh. What do you want to do? Okay, so the date was August 31st, 2015. And I know it was August 31st, 2015, because it's on Facebook. Haha, I got a record. And I woke up to a conversation going on in my head. Not unusual. Usually it happens around 3:27 at night a.m. But this time it was at dawn. Conversation, very, very busy conversation. And it was a challenge. I was being offered a challenge. What was the challenge? My guides had the brilliant idea that they wanted me to download 111 angelic messages to lighten the burden of being human in a chaotic human world. And they wanted me to download 111 messages in 30 days. And then they wanted me to publish the book 30 days after that. And I'm going, don't think so. But tell me more, because their challenges are always so fascinating. They're so juicy. Like, it's like, you guys have the best ideas. And I had already done this on their behalf in 2011, 2012. Because if you all remember 11/11/11, we all got messages around 11/11/11. The earth was going to end. The Aztec calendar was ending at New Year's, at the stroke of New Year's for 2012, and everything was going to blow up, and the tech was going to be gone, and there wasn't going to be any water, and the world, everything was going to melt down because we didn't know where we were going to go. There was no guidance. And they were rather frantic that their messages should be out there to let people know it's gonna be okay. Well, they were so frantic that they kept me up 24 hours a day for almost 3 months, practically. I got snatches of sleep where I was writing, translating, getting it out on a blog. I had never done a blog. I'd never really played on the internet. I didn't know very much about computers, but I was supposed to do this in 2011. And I did it. But at the end of it, when it was all done, I was so burned out. I said, never, ever, 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 ever again am I going to let you make me crazy like that again. And it was like, sorry. Okay. So here I am in 2015. And now they're going, we've got this really cool thing you want to do that's going to help people. I'm going, well, you know what? This time it's going to be different. I said, this time we're going to have some rules and you're going to play by the rules. And if you don't, I'm going to walk away from it. So here I am talking to my guides as if they are annoying friends, which at that moment they actually were. But I really wanted to do it because anything they've asked me to do has always, oh my God, it's always grown me and given me so much vitality and excitement and wonder and awe about the magnificence of what it is to be a human being in connection with what's beyond us. So I said, okay, let's have some rules. And it's still 6:30 in the morning-ish. Time means nothing. I mean, we can have a huge long conversation in half a minute and it feels like it's hours, or I can be with them for hours and it feels like it's only minutes. So step one, I said, I'll consider it if you promise to respect my boundaries, honor them. I got a big yes. Okay. Next was, I'm going to quit if it gets to be too much. They went, okay. Then I said, no midnight to dawn calls. Midnight to dawn is out of the messaging box, guys. You want to talk to me between dawn and midnight. Daytime hours. I've got daytime office hours. They went, okay, we can do that. And then I said, and now this is where it's going to get interesting, because I want a very, very, very clear structure on how these messages are going to be delivered. If you're delivering 111 messages in 30 days, that means that some days I'm going to be receiving more than 3 messages a day. And you know, and I know that if I don't understand a single line of what it is you're giving me, I won't move forward. I won't do anything else until I understand it. So I need structure. I need you to give me the titles of all 111 messages in advance, so I know what's coming. Okay, we can do that, they said. And they did. They gave me they actually gave me 99 of the 111 that very day. But they told me they wouldn't give me the last 3 because I wasn't ready for them until the end of the challenge. I went, sure, fine, whatever, 99's plenty to work on. So I had all 99 titles. Then I said, okay, and you're going to give me the messages in the same order of information. So we're going to answer some questions. I'm going to ask you questions about each message after you give me the title. So, for example, they gave me the word beingness. Beingness was a title. And I said, all right, here are the 3 questions I need you to answer for me. If you want me to take down this message and give it to people. I need you to answer in the message what it is that mankind does not yet know about beingness. What is it that mankind does not yet know? We need something new and fresh, something that hasn't been written about anywhere else. So you're going to have to provide that to me immediately after you give me the title. Let me know that's one that we're working on. I said, after you've given me what it is that we don't know about it yet, and I understand that and it makes sense to me, then you're going to answer the next question, which is the next piece of the message. Why is it important for people to know this now? What's the big deal? Why is it so important? So that would be the middle body of the message. And then they had to answer, after I understood why it was important for people to know this now, they had to answer, what will knowing this now, all of this stuff above, what will knowing all of this now change for the person who's reading the message? How will it change their perspective about their own lives? And they agreed to those 3 questions, which is, what is it that man doesn't know about this thing yet? Why is it important for them to know it now? And how is it going to change their lives? And that's actually become the structure for all the other messages I received, all the conversations that we have since 2015. We designed together, we negotiated a much kinder relationship that was weighted in favor of my sanity and my physical health, so that I can remain healthier for longer, right? Because working with your guides can burn you out really fast if you don't put some structure into how it is that you communicate with them. Before I go on, does anybody have a question about this?
The only thing I was just thinking after, if you go, is for people to, how do people discern their guides and the intention of the guides?
Ask.
Just ask.
Ask. Just the same way that you would ask a friend who's asking you to do something. Well, why do you want me to do this? What's the big deal? Why is it so important to you? It's the same thing. I have to know that I can trust that the message that they want me to deliver is in the highest and greatest good, the best interests of the people who trust me. A lot of people trust me. And when I write stuff, they listen. I just put it out there and people listen. So ask, get curious. Like, what happens with a lot of people is that when a guide contacts them for the first time, it's almost like feeling you're talking to an angel or to a deity or to a semi-deity. And you're kind of like, okay, thank you so much for coming to me. And I'm so grateful that you're here. And I don't know how to respond to this, because you're so in shock that this otherworldly being has chosen you to communicate with. It's huge. So we forget that the same way that we are beings in this world, in their world, they are just ordinary people who just happen to have a specific job, which is to be taking care of us, talking to us, guiding us. That's their work, right? So once we make that first connection, then we have to start creating the relationship. That's an equal relationship. Does that make sense? Does that feel like it would be a comfortable thing for people to do, to challenge your guides and ask them what's going on and why it's important, and what's the outcome that they're looking for? You can even say, well, so you're telling me to do this, but what is it that's going to happen when I do this? Can you give me an outcome? Can you tell me what I can expect from this? If their answer isn't good enough, walk away. That's another tip. If you don't like what you're hearing, if it doesn't make you feel comfortable, walk away. Say thank you, but no thank you on this one. I think I had some others. Here you go. So number one was remember. So if you're going to look at the tips for your sanity on this one, it's when you're talking to your guides, it's remember they're no different than you are. They have different skills and live in a different dimension, but that's all the difference that there is. Okay. Negotiate your own rules for engagement. It's your right, and you're not a slave to their whim. So negotiate. If they don't agree with you on the negotiation, just ask them to leave. And you can do that. And you can always use the same 3 questions that I gave you in the first story to make your decision about whether or not you want to be part of whatever it is they're asking you to be part of.
And by the way, don't feel like you have to write down the questions, because Sue will give us a copy of them later. So everybody will.
Yeah, I will.
The questions and the tips. Yeah.
The questions, the tips. I'm not going to give you the whole outline for this conversation tonight, but I will give you the tips, tools, and the questions to ask. Okay, so basically, I did download all 111 messages in the 30 days. And that actually became 3 out of 5 books. The 4th book got stuck in PDF and Kindle won't accept it, but Shaun says he knows how to make that happen. So it might. We're hoping. I'm hoping. Maybe Shaun is my angel on this one. We're going to find out. So the links to those books, it's Angelic Footprints. It's 111 angelic messages to lighten the burden of being human in the human world. Anyways, Shaun has the link. He's put the link somewhere in this communication.
It's in the newsletter, and we'll put it in the chat too.
And it's on Amazon as well. So that's basically all you need to know about that, unless at some point in this conversation you'd like me to read part of one of the messages so you can hear the power of, the what people don't know about this, whatever it is, and why it's important right now and how it's going to change their lives. Shaun, did you want to hear it, or is that something we can come back to?
Yeah, we can come back to that. And
sure.
Because the first part of what you read, the first little meditation was from one of them, wasn't it?
The first meditation was actually the blessing that's in the front of each of the books. Right. And again, it is exactly as it was given to me. I did not change a word or an order of the wording or anything. They said it, I wrote it. I'm a scribe, basically transcribing what they want people to know. That's all I am. There's no part of me, my ego, in what I write about when I'm downloading their messages. I take myself out of the equation unless I don't understand it or I don't like it.
So that's actually probably a tip that a lot of people don't realize is checking the ego first. Because if we're in ego, then we're not in alignment with spirit or our guides.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah. Thank you, Shaun. That's a good one. Okay, people, write that one down. It's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, if you start writing thinking this is going to be a bestseller and I'm going to be the New York Times, you're not going to get you're not going to get any messages actually.
No, because you're so busy listening to yourself. There's no room for the guides to get in there. They're going, but, hello, I'm here. Do you hear me? And you're going, no, I'm too busy. Hold on, I'll get back to
you. No, I'm already booking Oprah.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. And by the way, can you get me on Oprah, guys? Please, yes, thank you very much. Okay. So far, so good? Anything I've left out so far, Shaun?
No, but please, anybody, as we're going, feel free to raise your hands.
Yeah.
A question that's applicable, please do.
Does anybody need to get a drink? Do you want to stop for a second or two? Or should we just continue on? Let the good times roll.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
They can just turn off their camera.
Okay. We are, where are we? We're just about an hour in. So I think we're still on time. Okay. So the last one was the one that I found absolutely over the moon, no pun intended, exciting, because I've done plenty of out-of-body experiences. I know how to get out of body. I know how to safely get back into body. I've taken other people on out-of-body excursions, which I do very rarely and only with people who have been vetted to make sure that they are stable enough to be able to handle an experience like that, because not everybody is. That you might think you are. Our ego tells us, yeah, I really want to do that because that is so cool. But coming back after, if you haven't gone out from a stable place, when coming back, it's very difficult to stay in your body afterwards. So a word of caution to anybody who sees out-of-body experiences as a form of entertainment. Please think again. That's not what it's for. And so here we are, a day trip outside our dimension to see how other dimensions stack up around ours. Okay. So when I think of the earth, I used to think about a ball, a beautiful blue, watery looking, stunning blue ball, all luminescent and everything, suspended in space, and everything else is around it. It's got magnetic stuff going on. It's got other planets going on. It's got UFOs going on. It's got all kinds of stuff going on. That's what I used to see until that day. I also thought of the earthly dimension as being part of a system of other dimensions, but I couldn't quite see where it all fit. I couldn't, even if I went and I looked online and saw other people's versions of it, I couldn't quite grasp it. Okay. So here I am, it's fall. It's like right now where the wind is swirling the leaves around. There are all these like dust devils that are swirling the leaves, are just spinning all over the place. And I'm walking, the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. And I'm looking at these leaves and taking myself back years and years to when our kids were little. And it was a beautiful fall day, and I took a picture. My husband was a photographer. I borrowed his professional camera because it was the only one handy. And he had film from weddings and stuff on that camera. And I went, okay, kids, give me a smile. They're in this big pile of leaves and two little faces are popping out. I go click, 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 and put his camera back. I didn't tell him I touched the camera. And he develops the film. He sees the pictures of the kids, thinks he took them, but doesn't remember actually taking them and doesn't bother asking us, this is a really great picture of the kids. I'm going to put it in the window of our shop. I went, sure, honey, go right ahead. Kids never told him that I took the picture. Got tons of, he even won an award for the picture. It's like, honey, that's great. I'm so pleased for you. And I think years later, the kids kind of blurted that, even though mom took that picture. Anyway, so I'm walking along and I'm thinking about that picture and I'm just chuckling to myself, and he pops in. He's been dead about a year. No, not even, just slightly less than a year, actually, half a year. And he pops in and he's kind of laughing about this thing too, about that picture and stuff. And we're talking about all kinds of things. And I said, honey, while I've got you, do you mind if I pick your brain a little bit? I've got clients who have been asking about, gray entities and entities coming from other dimensions and portals. And can you tell me anything about that? Maybe you're closer to it than I am. And so he said, yeah, basically when people travel interdimensionally and they go through a portal, it's a doorway between two worlds. And the doorway has doors on both sides. So both sides have to be open at the same time in order for our energetic essence to pass through. Quite often, we forget to close our door behind us. The door is open. We wander around in their dimension, looking around, talking to people. Sometimes we contaminate their dimension with our energy without even realizing it, because we're a foreign energy and we could be carrying a virus that doesn't work well in their world. And we scare them as much as they scare us when they show up in our worlds, because we're not used to how they look or how they feel. So basically he said, if you have people that are going to travel interdimensionally like this, make sure that they know to close the door behind them, that they can get back out through the same door again, and close the door of the world they've just left behind them before they come back into this world, so nothing follows them back in. But that's really good. That's really good information. Thank you. I'll pass that along. So folks, if you have OBEs or you're trying and you have had that experience where you feel you brought something back with you, you just go back to that situation, find your portal, and make sure that you told whoever followed you back to go back where they belong, because maybe they got lost. Maybe they can't find their way back to their portal. If you go back and they follow you back, they're going to find their way back through their own doorway. Go home and be happy. You shut that door behind them. You come back through your door, you shut your door, and then you say to your guides, thank you. And you kind of put that issue to bed. Now, I said, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And we talk a little bit. And then he says, I said, can you show me what it's like where you are? He went, no. I said, that's not nice. You just told me about this interdimensional stuff. Why can't you show me what it's like where you are? He said, first of all, it's above your pay grade. You're not there yet. You're not supposed to see it until you're there. Or if you have a situation where you have an NDE and you visit briefly and come back. Changed for the better. And I went, oh, well, I have to respect you for your honesty. Thank you for telling me that. He goes, but how would you like to go flying? I went, excuse me? He said, yeah, how would you like to go flying? I said, where? He goes, out there. I said, but not up there, just out there? He goes, yeah, not up, but out. Sure, let's do that. He says, I'll meet you on the other side. I said, great. And since I know how to get out there, I said, okay, I got myself together. We're flying up there. I'm out there. He meets me and I said, so where are we going? He said, would you like to see what the Earth dimension actually looks like? And I said, God, yes. Please take me there. So he says, okay, just turn around and look over there. So I do what he says and I feel myself turning. Remember, I'm not me in this body. I'm an energy. I'm a whisper of energy, because that's what we are. This vessel, this flesh and blood thing that ages and falls apart and eventually ends up not holding our essence any longer, is temporary. It's a vessel. But what's that spark, that God spark, we call it the God spark, is a piece, it's a fractal piece of universal source energy. Okay, you can't create it, you can't kill it, it doesn't die. When you are finished with this body, you don't die just because the body decays. Your source energy spark, that fractal of source energy, goes back to where it came from. It continues on its journey. This is only a way station. Anyway, sorry, I digress. I do that a lot. Shaun, bring me back when I do that. That's your job. Okay, so.
I was loving it, and I think everybody else was too.
Okay.
You might add in there, so you can be out there and flying around because you've let go of your limiting beliefs. And so that's another tip for people, if it's the limiting beliefs that make us not be able to do that.
That we are saying this is a corporal body. It's pulled by gravity. It's stuck here, and it cannot exist in more than one place. The physical body still is here, but that energetic source leaves its signature here so it can come back to it. But it can also travel safely and come back. Now, that traveling safely is actually what looks like a silver cord. Now, I know people talk about the cord, the silver cord. It's not really silver. It kind of looks silverish. It's terribly flexible. It's incredibly flexible and malleable, and it has no limit on the distance that it can travel. But it's that almost invisible connection to this body that keeps our source energy from flying back to source. When we leave this body, that connection, when we leave this body for good, going back to our original place of origin, that electrical connection is severed so that our soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, can go back to where it came from. But when we have an out-of-body experience, that silver filament, it's a filament, stays connected. And that's what we follow back to the body. That's how we get back into our bodies. And there's a process for that too. Not for this call, but there is a process for that too. So does that help? Does that give that one more piece? Okay, great. So here we are, he and I, and we are up there. And he tells me to turn around. So I feel myself just rotating and looking. I call it, when I'm in energy form, I see through energy eyes. I feel through energy hands and fingers. I taste with energy tongue, and I feel everything in the energy body, the electrical connections of the energy body. So there we are. I basically rotate my energy, and he and I are gazing on what appears to be a very thin wafer, just a thin rectangular wafer floating in space. That's kind of cool. Well, what is that? Says I. And he says, that's the Earth dimension. I said, no. The Earth is a ball. He goes, that's a limiting belief. He says, it's not a ball. It's a dimension. Everything about that ball is inside the wafer. It's limitless. Here we come to limitless and boundaryless. Inside the wafer. Everything inside the wafer is limitless and boundaryless. We talked about that earlier. And so here we have this very thin wafer. Now, there are other thin wafers stacked up above it and stacked below it. Some of them are parallel to, in a nice, neat configuration. Some of them are kind of haphazard, sticking out of the stacks. Others are leaning into and kind of intersecting the airspace of Earth's wafer. Now, if I look very carefully, he says, go a little closer. I said, only if you go with me. Okay, so we go together. And what we see is that here's the earth dimension, but there is an airspace, what looks like an airspace around the dimension. And all of the other wafers are leaning up against, well, the ones that are leaning against our dimension. Their energy spaces are pushing up against ours. And some of them are actually pushing in to our dimension and breaching our security perimeter, which is that airspace. I said, so what am I actually looking at? Can you tell me what I'm looking at? Instead of leaving me to guess, please elucidate. He and I liked words. And so he said, what you're seeing is all of the other dimensions that have portals, doorways into the earth dimension. And those that are stacked up really close, leaning on it, pushing into it, they are the ones where people actually push through accidentally or fall through from either direction, from either dimension. They to us and us to them. He said, what do you notice? I said, well, there are places where our perimeter seems to be breached. There are holes. It's kind of like cheesecloth in some places. Other places, it's kind of shrunken up right against the wafer. There is no buffer zone. He says, what's going on Earth right now? I said, wars, famine, angry people, haters, just a lot of stuff. And that was before COVID, before all the fear around COVID. And he said, all of the people on Earth are a fractal. Their energy is a fractal of universal source energy. So all the people on Earth are generating vibrational messages that they broadcast out through their own bodies, out through their world, out from the Earth. And depending on the mood of the Earth at that time, mood meaning how the general population of the Earth are feeling at that point in time, that's the energy that is being broadcast out through that perimeter that surrounds our wafer, right? And that's how we are, that's signature energy that we broadcast out about our dimension. Is it a hostile dimension? Is it a welcoming dimension? Is it a loving dimension? So the combined force of everybody's energy here on Earth is actually broadcast out through that wafer, and it informs all the other dimensions around us, what's going on with us. Now, because there is so much going on, or was so much going on, our perimeter was breached. So other dimensions were able to push in and connect with us. Now, some of those dimensions tried to send us help. Others took advantage of the situation to whip things up and make it more complicated and angry, emotional with our people here. I said, what can we do about that? He says, you're an empath trainer. You teach people all about overwhelm and stress management. How do you do it? I said, energy management. He goes, what do you do with them? I said, well, first I get them to visualize their energetic core, their essence, see what that looks like. Then I take them inside of that, intellectually, emotionally. And from inside that place, I ask them to view their energetic perimeter, the space outside their body, which is about arm's length outside their body, and just see how close it is to their body, how far out it is, whether or not there are any breaches or thinness or broken bits, missing pieces. And then I teach them how to push that perimeter out to the safe distance, which is arm's length, how to repair all the damage, how to re-energize it with source energy, and how to intention it for what you want the outside world to know about you, what your boundaries are, where your respect is, how you need to be loved, all that stuff, so that you're communicating with people through that energetic dimension. Here it is again, that communicating between dimensions, so that you get heard and respected. He says, yeah. And if people are a fractal of the earth dimension, it means that the earth dimension, fixing the earth dimension, is exactly the same as fixing one human being. I went, oh, yeah, well, I guess that's true, isn't it? And he goes, what are you going to do about it? I said, okay, no more games. Just tell me, what am I going to do about this? And he says, you're going to fix it. I said, hon, I'm one little person, limiting belief, remember? I'm one little person. I'm a human being. He says, you're not a human being. You're an energy source. You're a fractal. You're part of all of this. He says, tell me what you would do to fix this dimension, the earth dimension. I said, well, you see that bit over there? First of all, I would pull it out to the proper distance. And this piece is too far out. I would bring that back in. See, there's a missing bit over there. I would fix that piece. I would patch it with a triple patch, like super patch, so nothing's going to get through there again. He said, and then I said, where's our electrical energy? Where's the twinkle? Where are the twinkle lights around the earth dimension? He goes, they've been turned off. I went, why? He goes, because people have no more hope. I said, so we're talking Tinkerbell here? Say you believe, and Tinks brightens up and comes back to life. He says, pretty much, yeah. Well, okay, so I've got to turn the lights back on. I've got to believe enough that I can turn the energy back on, just the same way I do for a human being. He goes, yes. I said, will you do it with me? Two is stronger than one. He goes, now that you reminded yourself how you can do this for the earth dimension, we're going to do it together. So we did. He was on one side, I was on the other, and we were repairing at the same time, like astronauts on the outside of the rocket ship, right? The space station, fixing stuff. It didn't take more than what seemed to be a few minutes to fix this, push that, twinkle that, do whatever it is we needed to do. He says, there's one piece you haven't done yet. I said, what's that? He says, what is it, the final thing you tell your people when they've gone in and they've repaired their energy field? I said, it has to be intentioned for the broadcast that you want to broadcast out to the world, and for the broadcasts from other worlds that you'll allow in. He said, right. I said, I can't speak for the world. He said, you are the world. Just intention it. I said, okay. So I intentioned it as a healing place, as a place of hope for everybody who's endangered, whether or not they're really endangered, giving them the hope, healing the environment, healing people, healing illness, healing emotional distress, all of that. So in probably an hour and a half, he and I took a walk, did an out-of-body experience, healed the earth, and had a really nice time. To do the actual work, I don't think it took more than 20 minutes, half an hour. The rest of it was just plain fun. So that was that experience. Now, if I was going to talk about tips for safe interdimensional travel, that's one thing. What would you like to know, Shaun, after listening to this experience?
But there's a myth, I believe, that if you let go of that cord, that you're going to die. I don't know if people have heard that, but I actually grew up hearing that. That's not true, right? I mean, you can't. So
No, you're not going to die if you let go of the cord. It'll take you longer to find your way back into your body and into your mind. Your body will not die.
Yeah. I mean, is it possible to even let go of it?
No, because you're not holding on to it.
Right. That's what exactly. That's why I think
You're not holding on to it. The cord is actually connected to your heart chakra.
Right.
All right.
Really, it was my mom always telling me. So I think she just
boogeyman stuff. It was boogeyman stuff, Shaun. You got boogeyman.
Yeah, she likes to do that. So, does anybody else have any questions about that? You know what I think would be great for the benefit of our friend Mike Martin. So Mike has sleep paralysis that he experiences. And we have another friend, which I don't know if you met him, Eugene. And so I'd like to see what what you believe or have experienced is. So another friend said that the sleep paralysis, and also that's like a precursor before being able to leave your body and do astral projection. But there was also a comment. So when you're coming back into your body, some of us have experienced dark beings or alien type beings that when you're coming back. Have you ever experienced that, or do you know about that?
I haven't experienced it myself, mainly because of the way in which I usually leave my body. I leave my body with an intention to go somewhere or do something. Now, you're talking, when people leave their bodies and have these experiences of dark entities, were they traveling out of body on purpose? Was it an intention of theirs to get out of body, to go somewhere?
But you know what? I'll use myself as an example. So when I was a kid, I didn't even know I was leaving my body.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And when you were a kid, did you ever have that sense of dark entities having followed you back?
Well, yeah, I saw them. That's the thing, is I saw them. So I haven't seen them since I was a kid. Well, actually I have. But whereas they were scary when I was a kid, as an adult, they're not. They can't do anything. They're just there.
They're just there. I think that they were curious. The door was open. The portal was open. And as you were wandering around in there. Hello. You were wandering around in their dimension. You caught their attention. And somebody there went, cool. What's that? Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Let's follow them back. Let's see where he came from.
Yeah. And I believe that, well, that was the look on their face. Just curious.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, if you had turned around, gone back to the portal, said, come on, guys, you need to go home now. This is not your dimension. You're not supposed to be here. Then chances are they would have followed you back. Because we don't know who they are, to us, they're scary, right? They look sinister. And maybe they are coming in with the intention of protecting their world from us. Maybe they're the guardians of the portal. We got past and they followed you back just to see who's here and are we a safe dimension? Don't know. Unless you ask them and they tell you, you really won't know. If you want them to go back, you have to point them back in the direction they need to go. And you have to follow them back and close the door behind them. The door on their side and the door on our side. It's a double door, right? It's like those hotel rooms that have connecting doors. There's one on each side with a space in the middle. Does that answer that question?
I think so. How about Mike? Do you have any questions?
Mike wanted to know about sleep paralysis.
Yeah, because that's, if you want to unmute, if you have a question, Mike, if you'd like to ask.
Okay. All right. Hey, hi, Sue. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, I really appreciate this time. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Yes, I've experienced, it's called awareness during sleep. paralysis, and
Mhm.
I've had hundreds of these, and I've come to learn that it's a prelude to having an OBE.
Okay.
Okay, but I haven't been able to at will, just go off floating away somewhere. So I'm usually still in my body.
Do you want to at will be able to just fly off?
Oh yes, definitely.
All right.
Yes, most
Well,
definitely.
I would never tell people not to do what they feel drawn to do. But if you plan on someday just being able to float off whenever you feel like it, intention before you attempt to leave your body that you will be safe, that
Mhm.
you are only there as an observer. You will not interact with anybody or anything for fear of changing anybody's timeline. You're
Mhm.
just strictly an observer. You're not going to leave any of your energy behind, informing them about how to follow you back.
Mhm.
Okay. And when you come back, make sure you close both the doors because it's really important. The
Mm.
sleep paralysis part, I haven't personally experienced that. I have, actually, that's probably not true. I have experienced in dreams that paralysis where something is happening, I need to run and I can't move, right?
Okay.
I have definitely experienced that. And all I could do was force myself to wake up. I
Mhm.
had to wake myself up.
Right.
And I had to recognize that this was, I'd say, okay, paralysis, dream, wake up, and force myself awake and go, that wasn't fun. I don't want to do that again.
Yes, I've
What
had
I,
those too. It happens when it can happen. It usually happens when when I'm like in the middle. It's called the hypnagogic state.
the
It's in
hypnotic
between
state.
being awake and asleep, but sometimes it can happen even while I'm dreaming.
Mhm.
In the train too, it can come on then.
If that
It's like a
happens, and if that happens, what you can do before you go to sleep, is that you're going to intention your, remember I talked about that perimeter around
oh yes.
your body,
Mm-hmm.
that perimeter is going to protect you from any incoming energies that could get you. But by incoming energies, I'm talking about people and their emotions,
Mm.
not dark energies floating around you. Okay.
Mm.
Other people's emotions often appear to us as dark entities, when really all we're seeing is a shadow of their energy. So
Oh,
it could be somebody around you that is in great pain or great fear,
mm-hmm.
great worry, concern,
Okay, I
anything.
understand. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
when you see that, you're going to ask your body, not your brain, because our brain has its stories. Our body is actually the barometer, thermometer of what we're actually picking up from other people. So you ask your body, what is this? Is this human or is this not? And oftentimes it will be a human emotion, really more times than anything else, like 1 in a million, it might be an outside entity. But most often, what we feel is an energy attack from dark entities is other people's very out of control emotions getting through our electric fence, because we all have an electric fence around us that lets us know what's going on with people in the outside world. Did that help a little?
Oh yes. Oh yes, most definitely. Yeah, thank you, Sue.
Okay, you're welcome. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, same here. Nice talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. I have one
Yeah.
other
So
question. I'm sorry, Shaun. You can
no,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've read from another account from Malcolm Miller. I don't know if you know him or not, but he's been in a book recently of his experience. He said that there are 7 spheres, around our planet, and they're all kind of like intersect with each other. Is that similar to what you have experienced and found out?
He sees it as spheres. What I was shown from the outside is that there are other dimensions that are bouncing up against us. Now, if we look at our own dimension, okay, I did say that there was a safety perimeter around our dimension. We don't know how big that sphere, that dimension, that comfort zone, buffer zone is, but those 7 spheres that he's talking about, I did not see that, but perhaps he did. Maybe he's got another piece of the puzzle that I don't have.
Yes. Yet the first 2 spheres are called like the lower astral. It's the lower planes. And from the 3rd on up, it becomes more heavenly like.
There are so many dimensions within our dimension. I don't know them all. I don't even know that I have the brain power to hold them all, even if I did know them all. So my guides give me all that I can handle. And they let my ex-husband take me on that journey because they knew that that was something that I had to do. So I only got to see that piece of it. I'm thrilled to hear that other people see other pieces.
Yeah, he was in a coma when he had his experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a 1 week long. Yeah, he was gone for a week.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a really long time.
In a coma, he had his experience in the 3rd level. Actually, he went to the 4th level, and he came back down to the next one, next lower one.
Interesting.
But he also, he also visited the 2nd level too, which is kind of bad, a little bit bad, But
well, when you're traveling, sometimes we're in good hotels and sometimes we're in crappy hotels.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mike. I really appreciate your share.
Thanks, Mike. That's great.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you.
So I do want to clarify because somebody asked a question. So it was your ex-husband who had passed that came to you, that took you on this trip.
That's right.
Yeah.
He had passed. He'd passed in, I think it was February, the end of February. And he came to me, it would have been October of the same year.
Do you still communicate with him, or is he?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. If he feels like popping by, there is no privacy. What can I say?
Do you get along better now than when you were married?
He was my soulmate. He went through a period of time where he lost himself. And it took him 7 years to come back to himself. And it was in that 7 years that we ended up divorcing. He completely changed his life. When he came back to who he had been, he came back changed. But what he did with the remainder of his life was immense. He went on to influence people on 3 continents, sort of thing. When he died, there were memorials for him in 3 countries. My daughters were invited to California to come to a very large memorial for him there. He became a very different person. He could not have done that with me as his partner. And when we separated, I went on a very different journey myself and completely changed my life. I would not be doing any of this now had he and I stayed together. We would have held each other back. We would have stifled each other and not even known that we were stifling each other. And our marriage was not a stifled marriage. It was a playful, fun marriage until he kind of got lost. But obviously that was part of his journey.
That's a beautiful message. That's really and helpful for those of us that want to hang on sometimes when we need to let go.
Yeah. We had to go our separate ways. We did come back together as very strong friends. I was with him when he died, and as were our daughters and his sister and his friend. And basically, you know, we kind of reaffirmed our love in that last week and said, it's never really been anybody else. He said, me too. At a point where he couldn't say any words, he mouthed the words. I went, okay. Life is, it's never what you think it's going to be. At one point in life, it can be so crappy. It can be so horrible. It can be so, how am I ever going to get through this? Nothing will ever be normal again. I will never be normal again. And then, you know, a year later, it's like, wow, this is amazing. I'm so glad I hung on. I'm so glad I didn't give up. It's all part of the journey.
That's wonderful. Okay, so we have gone a little bit over, and as if you're feeling okay, and everybody else is feeling okay, then we can do some questions and answers some more.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Janelle has a question, but what I'll say though, for people that are leaving, so I put a link to the newsletter in the chat, and I'll do it again, that literally you can click on the newsletter and it will give you all of Sue's links, a great video on there on shielding. And of course there's a donation link if anybody would like to contribute to Hawaiian IANDS, because so that we can keep this free. And then we can, so I'll just say that now. So, but I will say verbally that she has a great empath group on Facebook, which you'll find the link in the newsletter. And it's really wonderful. And it's, you know, of course, a free group. And, you know, from there, there's a lot of, she posts all kinds of tons of great information. And sometimes she shares it with our Hawaiian IANDS group as well. So you'll be able to find out all of her information. And then also she's available for private coaching and stuff. So you can look at her website. And, you know, for those of us that, you know, right now are experiencing a lot of overwhelm and so forth, she's really good at that. And I can just tell you personally, she's got a lot of great tips. So with that said, let's go ahead and open up the Q&A, and whoever would, you know, whoever has questions, raise your hand. And Janelle is first, so you can go ahead and unmute Janelle. And wait, somebody said, wait a minute, did somebody else have a, somebody else have their hand up too? Okay, let's go, we'll go to, oh, somebody's reminding me. Thank you, Pam. So our sharing group starts at, we've changed the sharing group. We're moving all of our meetings earlier so that more people like Sue and Jack on the East Coast don't have to, you know, stay up all night. So we're going to be moving, starting with the sharing group on the 19th. We're going to start at 4 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, which will be 6 p.m. Pacific Coast Time, and then 9 o'clock Eastern. So a lot of you that have to stay up so late, you won't have to stay up so late. So I just want to remind everybody now verbally, so that you just remember the sharing group will be earlier, and then our speaker event at the beginning of December will be earlier as well. So thank you for reminding me that, Pam, because I don't want anybody arriving late and worried. But also, if you sign up for the newsletter, there will be another reminder in there when I announce the event for next month. So with that said, go ahead, Janelle.
Well, aloha, everyone. I have an energetic question. I do energy healing, and I do a lot of stuff, but there is a healing modality that I've been downloaded with, and it's actually working, and I've never done this before, and this is why I need your advice on this. This is an inner child journey with the adult. So it's like taking two people on a journey for me. So when I'm doing healing work with the inner child, should I, or what, I don't want to say should, because should is such a powerful word, but would it benefit both the inner child and the client to have an anchoring? Because usually I do an anchoring with the client as the individual. I've never taken on the client with their inner child. Should that inner child also be grounded and anchored before going on the journey?
I would. Yeah, definitely.
Because
Definitely.
I'm seeing them when I'm seeing this whole download and how this journey is being played out and their healing. They're working together like as if they're two separate entities, but they're one and the same, but they're two separate elements of that individual. So I'm feeling drawn that both of them should be grounded and kind of respect that individuality of the individual.
Your intuition is right, Janelle. Absolutely. I would also ask permission of the inner child to do that work with them. I mean, you've called them in, they're there, but you haven't, I don't know if you have or you're not. But when I work with inner child and the adult person, I always ask permission of the inner child to do the work. And if that child, and I ask to do that grounding with them before we get started to make sure that there is no sense of being unsafe or unstable or flying off and just kind of getting lost.
And this is what I have done. And it's interesting because when I was receiving these downloads, it was, this is not just like for just anybody that comes to me. It's somebody that I know has the ability to connect, communicate, and with their inner child, right. And is able to bring that inner child forth in a way that is respectful and understanding that this inner child, as well as this client, has free will in this, and this is to be respected. And they, this is, it's very interesting. I will say that it's very powerful download. And I did my first session utilizing this modality, and it just was instinctual for me to want to ground that inner child as well.
Your intuition was 100% correct. I hope that you write this all down and you're creating a journal of experiences that you have with people so that you can then put it together and use it again and again and again, and maybe even eventually one day teach other people how to do that. Powerful share, Janelle. Thank you so much.
Okay. So, well, thank you for the validation, because I was like, okay, but this is an individual. This is an aspect of the individual. If I ground the individual, then they should both be grounded. But then I'm like, no, because this is a separate aspect of this individual. And so I was like, so I just went for this, what felt right for me. And so
you were correct. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Thank you so much. Shaun, is there anybody else that has a question?
So somebody asked earlier, what is the best way for people who are just now finding out that they're capable? And right now, as everybody knows, there's a lot of information coming in from all various sources. What would be the best step to manage the overwhelm that people are feeling? So many people right now.
Well, I can give everybody a very simple exercise that they can do for themselves, is as a short-term fix. The long-term fix is to learn how the shielding that you're born with, not the shielding that you choose to use because somebody says this is how you're supposed to shield, but the shielding that you actually were born with. It's DNA encoded that sets up a perimeter, an electrical perimeter around your body, so that you can actually program that perimeter from your brain to that perimeter to allow in everybody's intellectual need. So you know what's going on around you, but none of their pain or their guilt or their fear comes through. So intellectually, you know what's going on, but all the painful stuff stays out. That gives you space to work, to move, to create solutions. So you don't get deer in the headlight frozen with all of that overwhelm. So long-term solution, learn to shield properly, learn to ground properly, and it's all done electrically through your own body and brain. Short-term solution, this is a very simple exercise. You go into your heart first. You're feeling all this stuff around you. I'm not going to tell people what, because I don't want to take them there this moment, right? But you know what? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. So you basically center yourself in that. Remember I talked about that energetic essence, that core essence. You feel yourself telescoping down into that essence. So here you are in your heart zone, which is basically here. And what you do is you feel an ocean wave very gently building in the heart region. It's a very gentle wave, so slow, so gentle a ripple that it almost feels like it's not moving, but it is. Okay, so just close your eyes and build that wave in your heart. When you have the wave, when you can feel it just rolling in and rolling out, rolling in and rolling out, that wave, you're going to let it, you're going to release it in a moment, but not yet, out through your body, out through your buffer zone, out through your shield, out into the, what I call the energetic highway, and it'll find its way back to anybody that needs to hear this message. So we're going to program that message into the wave right now, right? So the message begins with, I see you. And that I see you is given with so much compassion and so much non-judgment. It's all about, I see where you're at. I see your pain. I see your need. I see your fear. I see everything about you. It's validation that what they're feeling, they're feeling. You're validating them as a human being. You're witnessing them. I see you. So just load that I see you with so much compassion, not necessarily love, but compassion, into the wave. Just feel it sinking into the wave, becoming part of the wave. I see you. When it feels that it's completely integrated into the wave, you're going to add a second piece to the message. Second piece is, I hear you. You know, I hear everything you're not saying, everything you're afraid to say, everything that's been said to you that you didn't want to hear. I hear all of that with great compassion and no judgment. I hear you, meaning I witness your humanity wherever you are in it. Load that I hear you into that very gentle, calm wave. There is no color in the wave. There's no great movement in the wave, just very gentle rippling. I see you. I hear you.
That's wonderful.
We're not done. There's one more piece. Okay. Now you're ready for the last part of the wave, which is the piece that calms them. Okay. And you're just going to add in whatever word feels right. It could be calm, just the sense of calm. Or it could be you're safe. Or it could be it's okay. It's just okay to be who you are, feeling what you're feeling. So choose a single word that kind of speaks to the feeling that you're taking in from them. Choose whatever that word is and feel that word going down into the wave, integrating into the particles of the wave, along with I see you and I hear you. And feel that wave moving, rolling in and rolling out in your chest. When you're ready, release that wave out through your body. And what it's doing is it's taking all the stuff that those people have deposited in your body out with it, out through that buffer zone between your body and your shield. Your shield is permeable. It's moving out through the shield. And it's going out into a dimensional highway. It's an energetic highway. It's just joining all the other messages. And your message will very gently find its way back to whoever sent it. Doesn't matter whether it's thousands of people, it will find its way to all those people. When it lands, it should only take a particle of a second, a few seconds. You'll feel it land with an out breath of your own, like a sigh, going, oh. And your whole body will just feel that relaxation. That's how a highly sensitive person, an empath, deals with multiple stressors coming in from everybody around. It gives you breathing room. That's what I teach. But there's so much more. That's just a Band-Aid. I hope it helps.
So one final question from me about, so you mentioned to send compassion, but not necessarily love.
Correct.
Yeah. So could you just explain why that is?
Yeah. We are told by all kinds of experts that we have to give unconditional love to the worst of people. Unconditional. I love you no matter what. No matter what you do, I still love you. The thing is that when you send that unconditional love, what you're actually doing is sending an energetic vibrational wave, a megahertz quantum energy thought wave that gets in through their shield, into their body, into their brain, that gives them permission to keep treating you badly. I love you no matter what you do. I'll always be there for you. Please beat me up some more. When you send compassion instead of love, what you're saying is, I feel sorry for what you're going through. It must be awful being you. That's not said as a sarcastic, cutting thing. It truly is with compassion. I truly do feel compassion for your pain. But now you're setting up that boundary. We're no longer boundaryless. We're putting up a respectful boundary. You can't treat me badly and expect me to love you, but I do feel compassion for you.
And so we can still have unconditional love. We still can try not to judge them, but it doesn't mean that we send the message of unconditional love, is what you're saying.
If you choose to love them no matter what, that's your choice.
Right, but you don't necessarily have to send that message, is what you're saying.
You don't. Yeah. As a matter of fact, you can love somebody and at the same time not admit their lack of love or their disrespect or their abuse to you. At the same time, you can still send, I'm not judging you, and I do have compassion for where you're at. That's still a very Christian thing to do. If Christianity is your religion, or any other religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, any of the isms, there's all that every religion has that component of compassion.
Right.
We can send it, no skin off my nose, to send compassion. And if it's what they need, then it will help to calm them. When they get a message like that back from you, validating where they are at and who they are, witnessing them, what you're basically doing is you're creating an open channel for better communication and more respect in the future. Make sense?
Yes, I think, and that's a great note to end on.
Okay.
Unless you have a final note that you would like to. Kawis, do you have your hand up, or are you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I first want to just very humbly and deeply and sincerely say this time with Sue is amazing, amazing healing promise, the promise of healing, the promise of heart's desires being met with the substance of the fulfillment, and the direction on how to get there. And I have a question. Okay,
Shoot.
and could I see her face while I ask her the question? I'm not-
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not-
Yeah.
Can you
hold
see
it.
me?
There,
There I
Yeah,
am.
so I just spotlighted you. So yes, now you can see her face.
so thank you, thank you, thank you. I was really touched by the very first thing you said to people who don't remember their near-death experiences, because I don't, but it was exhilarating to hear what you said after that. And I'm wanting to move closer to the freedom of being able to do what you're talking about. But I fear, which is probably ego itself, I feel so surrounded by, immersed in ego or something that is a cloud, that maybe it goes back to childhood, I don't know, but the depth of being within me wants spirit, wants my relationship with spirit, and wants to close the door on the ego and its voices. And I feel stuck in how to do that. And it gets discouraging to me, because in the midst of understanding and dwelling within the wealth within me of spirit, on the outside, I struggle with not listening to to the ego voices. Does this make sense?
It does. It does. We have lifetimes of patterns that dictate how we move forward in life. And there comes a moment, like you've just said, you're ready to do this, but you're still held back. There's still all these strings attached to you from the old way of thinking, from the old behavior, old mindset. And it's a matter of giving yourself permissions, little tiny permissions, one at a time. You're never going to release it all at once. And if you did, it'd be the most dangerous thing you could possibly do. Because if you released all of your protections and left yourself completely vulnerable all at once, whatever came forward would be too big for you to integrate quickly enough to be safe and not fall back, or not completely go into hiding. So my suggestion would be, make a little plan. What is it that you feel? And ask your guides. You've got them. They're all around you. Ask your guides what you need to let go of first. What's the least dangerous thing that you could open yourself up to first? And write that down. The message will come into your head. Write it down as soon as you get it, because I promise that if you wait 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, it'll be gone. It won't come back. Not the same way. So then once you got that piece written down, go back to your guides again. And you say, show me a time when I did this a little bit, or I did it once and don't remember having done it. And you see, your guides will take you back to a time when you actually did do this. And this thing that you want to do, it could be sometime when you were very, very young, maybe even when you were a child and had no restrictions at all on what you felt you could or couldn't do, or were afraid to do or not afraid to do. So ask your guides, show me a time when I've even actually attempted to do this and it worked. Now, if there was no time that it worked, but you did attempt, ask to be shown the time that it didn't work, but show you the smallest piece in what you did, that you did right, in the things that you did wrong. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
Okay.
ask to see a time. This is real important, so I'm just wanting to get it. Ask to see a time when I did some little thing right.
Yes. Yeah. And then ask them to lay out the steps that you did right. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So now you have a blueprint that you can repeat. You can try it out. You can fine tune it. And all the pieces that work, you keep. And then you just keep adding in new ones until you get to it, successfully get to where you want to go.
Okay, would you say that sentence again? Adding in a new piece? One
Yeah,
at a time?
try something new. So if you've got a partial win, now you're going to say to your guides, show me something else that I could do to add to this to get me closer to a win. And your guides will show you. You just have to keep asking them. And I mean, sometimes their messages show up in a book, where a book will fall off a shelf and it opens up to a page. You look at the page, just scan that page, and certain words will pop out at you. Sometimes that's an answer. Sometimes it's going to be words that come into your head. Like me, I get lots of words, but I also get books that open up. I get songs in the radio. I get in movies, there are lines that the actors are saying, going, holy cow, that was what I was just asking about. Thank you very much, guys. And I always remember to thank them. They love to be thanked. It's like, yes, you value me. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you for that great question, Louise.
Also, if anybody has questions like that, they do want to ask, if you go on my website, there is a calendar tool where you can book a session with me, a discovery session. I don't charge for discovery sessions because it's a time for us to see if there's a fit or not a fit. You end up with a recording of our conversation and some notes, and then you can decide if there's something that you want to do beyond that or not. Whatever the universe says is right. So that's all I can offer right now.
Great. And so her website is on the newsletter for everybody, so which I have stuck in the chat here. It's also in the Hawaiian IANDS Facebook group. And so that will give you the links to her website, plus her Facebook pages and the group. The group is really nice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. I felt very welcome here. I really appreciate that.
Yes, and thank you for staying awake, and for everybody who has stayed up.
We just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Yes. So everybody have a great night, and do not forget, the sharing group will be at 4 o'clock Hawaii time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. LA time, and then 9 p.m. Eastern, and then the same with the speaker event next year, or next month. So don't forget, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.